Hey, beautiful to be with you.
Okay, wait.
And
It's still going live, so just want to make sure that nobody misses anything. Okay, I believe we are live.
great, great. Thank you, Valencia. Beautiful to be with you. And some of you I know from Thrive Tribe Global. Some of you perhaps I was with yesterday. And I'll guide a little practice today, like I did yesterday. And also, I'd love to have a little interaction with you on the theme of heaven on earth, what this means to you, what you see as the big challenges. And yesterday, I spoke a bit about the inner aspect, the inner work relating to heaven on earth, the relationship to power, how we tend to, if we have a spiritual awakening, we may tend to kind of feel at least some ambivalence about power, probably some aversion to power, and because we see power having been abused, and so we figure power is a bad thing. And yet, if we want to make a difference, make a change, then it also requires power. It doesn't mean the same kind of power. It doesn't mean power over others, but we need to be empowered. We need to have a healthy relationship to power. And so the practice I shared yesterday, a little meditation I call grace flow meditation, was to help to bring about through a sense of rootedness, bringing the body into a peaceful, centered state, a feeling of safety. It's a place from which we can, from feeling safe, be able to relate in a healthy way to others. Because the moment we feel triggered into insecurity, then we're triggered into fighting over, um, into power struggles, trying to establish the feeling of being safe. And so I want to make this bridge from what I was speaking of yesterday in relating to creating a sense of safety in the body, a feeling of safety, a feeling of the not being overwhelmed, not being in emergency mode, bringing the body into restfulness. And by that, I don't mean you have to have your eyes closed. You have to, be alone, not being in retreat, but being in a state of, you could say, alert receptivity. And from there, we can find ourselves able to be inspired, be collaborative, rather than be in power struggles. And this is important for the theme of heaven on earth, because heaven on earth isn't just an individual experience. It's a you could say it's a planetary potential, and maybe it's not even just planetary, but in terms of what we are experiencing with the senses, we could say it's a planetary cultural shift. And so the ability to collaborate is so fundamental. The ability to be receptive, compassionate, sensitive to others. And the balance here is being sensitive and being empowered, being compassionate and being proactive, being trusting, and also being participative. There are these different dynamics that can be difficult to get right, and we can have the tendency to, in the field of spirituality, there can be the tendency to just think, I trust in the universe. You sit back and let the universe do the work, forgetting that the universe is also you. Your body is also the body of the universe, and your faculties, your hands, even your mind, your emotions, all these faculties are expressions of the creative potential. And so being reinserted, in the experience of connectedness so that all these faculties can be expressions of the divine. So this is how I express part of this idea of heaven on earth. I see there's a few people here in the Zoom, and I don't know if those of you who are interacting or who are watching on YouTube are able to also share any questions, insights, if we're able to interact. I don't know if there's somebody here on the team who's looking at the chat in YouTube. What comes up for you with this, with the question of what are the big challenges to experiencing heaven on earth, or living our potential for peace, for thriving, and for, you could say, a conscious thriving, one that isn't costing the planet or costing cultures that aren't necessarily all about prosperity in the modern sense. So a thriving that isn't colonialism, a thriving that is in tune with human society, in tune with the planet. What are the challenges as you see them? So I'm going to just give a moment to see if anyone wants to interact on that. If also anyone's able to make the bridge between those who are watching on YouTube. And I'll guide a little practice. If we're not having any interaction right now, that's fine. Okay, so there's no chat so far. That's fine. So let's do a little practice to get a sense of this bridge between the inner work of finding the space, the vibration of peace and of grace, of connectedness. And we can then elaborate a little, get a sense of what does this mean for what we do in the world, what we contribute, what we change. So bringing awareness to the breath and bringing awareness to the body, allowing ourselves to just settling into the support that the body is receiving in this moment. Noticing where the body is in touch with the earth element, appreciating the support the body receives. Noticing the support, whether it's at your feet, your legs, your buttocks, your back, your arms, hands, and allowing for there to be an appreciation of this support from the earth element, and at the same time, a fluidity in the body, a receptivity to move, to adjust, to stretch, to sigh, to yawn, getting back in touch with these natural impulses, the intelligence of the body. Allowing the breath to be open and loose, allowing the body to be soft, the voice to be available. And as we find ourselves in a restfulness, connectedness, just a literal awareness of our connectedness with Earth, with the Earth element, with the physical support. We can allow ourselves to extend the awareness into the field of Earth, of aliveness, reintegrating, bringing back to awareness this greater field of being. Can allow that to nourish us. Can allow a sense of restfulness to come from this connectedness. Can allow for a sense of revitalization to come by being in this field of life. And why this is important, even in the context of the outer work of heaven on earth, is because if we are in reactivity, in just responding to what is upsetting us in the world outside to try to change it, then we're effectively, whether there is outer intention or not, we're being manipulated all the time. Our response, our focus, if it's a constant reaction to what we are experiencing and what we don't want, then we are very easy to manipulate. But if we can find the sense of safety in the body, the sense of restfulness, the spaciousness, we open the possibility of inspiration, of being moved not by mistrust of what is out there, not by revolt against what is out there, but being moved by what is inspiring, what is a current of love, of aliveness, a current of discovery of truth, of curiosity of what is possible. It's a different place that we can move from, where we can be focused, even if the world outside is wanting to distract us, even if the world outside is full of unpredictability. By establishing this sense of rootedness and connectedness, there is something that can move us, hold us in a focus of creative expression. And this creative expression is, maybe at the human level, we may think of art, whether it is expression through words, through spoken word, written word, or whether it is visual, whether it is musical, but also this inspired current of aliveness can go beyond our usual understanding of what is art. Our activism can be an inspired current of creative energy, not a reactive statement against something, but instead the creation of what is possible. So let's find this space that holds us in the rootedness that doesn't have to be a retreat from the world to find stillness, where we can be bridging these what seem to be two, the world of peace, of stillness, and the world or the realm of interactivity, of connectedness, of participation. Let's explore just with curiosity. There's nothing you have to do actively right now, no effort that has to come in. Just exploring this place of stillness that is not a retreat, a stillness that is also awareness and alertness, not just an alertness to what is happening in the world around you through your senses, but also subtle insight that can come, wisdom that can move through you, that can move you, that can carry you into action beyond the linear, simple, and sometimes over-complex rational mind, a wisdom, an intelligence that can move us, an intelligence that's responsible for the synchronicity in our life. Again, something just beyond what the rational mind can figure out and plan for. Allowing ourselves to be in touch with and be moved by this greater intelligence. And you might like to call it God, you might prefer to call it something else. Just exploring that availability, resting in that, giving room for that to express itself in this moment, in this body, in this life. To not be in the way. Letting the body be open and loose, and the breath also not getting tight, not trying to get anything to happen. Just exploring this availability. So without feeling that you have to come back from this practice, this meditation, allowing the connectedness to remain, whether your eyes are open or closed, whether your body is still or in movement, whether you are alone or in company, interacting, or in contemplation, allowing for the sense of connectedness and rootedness to be available. My understanding is that this is the way that we can empower our vision, our knowing that what I'm calling heaven on earth is possible. And I'm love to hear what names you have for the vision of the most inspiring potential for all of us, for not just human beings, but the planet. And maybe there's even room here to speak of other dimensions, but if that doesn't come up, we'll keep things simple. I'll share a little story, and feel free if at any point you want to share a question, if you want to share any reflection, insight. I want to share a little story about potentiality. I participated in a permaculture teacher training some years ago, and this was a social permaculture course where we were working with permaculture principles for creating a project using design principles, permaculture design principles. And this was a program over the course of several days. We were learning to create goal, mission, clear objective, and practicing using design principles. And I found myself going back over my process over and over, never quite satisfied with my goals, because I would realize after I'd framed them that they weren't quite inclusive enough. There were elements in there that inspired me, but I was reflecting on if I was really doing this in real life, I would become dispersed. I would kind of lose interest in that because it was missing this other element. And so I'd go back and I'd try to include these other elements and then have this more inclusive vision as my goal for this this project. And I kept going backwards and forwards, and kind of fleshing it out more and more. And this took me days while everyone else was moving forwards. And eventually I had this flash of realization that the reason I couldn't settle on a goal that was fulfilling enough, that would hold my attention, that was inspiring me enough for it to be something I knew I could give myself to and focus on, is that my real vision was heaven on earth. And that was the realization that there was nothing short of that felt complete enough, rich enough in terms of what it would cover. So that's the first part of what I wanted to share, because a few weeks later, I was doing a coaching exercise, which was beginning with the assumption that we tend to think small. We think small and our visions are small, and we put all our energy into achieving much less than we're really capable of. And so the coaching exercise was to take your current vision and expand it 100-fold, expand it 1,000-fold, to really break free from your limitations of your usual way of thinking and see what vision could arise when you just break the limitations on how you tend to see potentiality. And I had this breakthrough a week before about heaven on earth being my vision. So I thought, okay, how am I going to do this practice, this exercise, which says take your goal and expand it 1,000-fold? My first impulse was exactly to think small. Like, I can't expand my vision. And then I thought, no, okay, let's take this exercise seriously. I've got heaven on earth as my vision. Expand that 1,000-fold. So kind of playfully, I just said to myself, okay, so peace, prosperity, thriving in all dimensions across time and space, multidimensional, intergalactic, multidimensional peace, prosperity, thriving. And I just put this vision out there of a multidimensional level of what we would perhaps call heaven on earth here. And this brought forward some strange things. I was soon after that invited to a program given by a guy who teaches about the history of humanity before we developed as a species on the planet. So humanity in a broad sense, the history of our consciousness before we became entangled in Earth history. Pretty multidimensional, multigalactic dimensions of vision. And so from this playful idea that I put out there, that what I wanted to really contribute to achieve, experience, was multidimensional, intergalactic peace and prosperity for all beings. Synchronicities began to take place where I was in a program teaching healing methods that would be deprogramming our old patterns, belief patterns, behavioral patterns, limiting thinking associated with these ancient currents of, could even call it interdimensional power struggles and politics between different intelligent species. I think if if there's ever been an appropriate context for me to talk about this, because it's not something I usually talk about, I think at a conference that's located in Sedona, I think it's an appropriate moment. So I want to speak to you beyond your current understanding of who you are. I want to speak to you and address the multidimensionality of you, to invite you to enter into alignment with the deepest truth of you, of who you are, of what you are. I want to speak into that place that is empowerment, aligned with source, aligned with truth of what and who you are. That your life can become an expression of that alignment and that source expression. Because I don't think anything less than that is really going to be enough for us to get through these great challenges. Not just the challenges today, the big pandemonium, but many of the challenges that have existed in human culture for thousands of years. We need to access our multidimensionality. We need to draw insight, inspiration, strength, wisdom from a place far beyond the rational mind that just looks at the familiar, evaluates, categorizes, separates, fragments. We need to work with a wisdom that is not so linear. So I invite you to also, by softening in the body, softening in the breath, finding the restfulness and the curiosity, the curiosity to open this big what if. What if there are greater dimensions of me, greater dimensions of reality that are just patiently waiting to express themselves? What if I can get out of the way by being in trusting in life, in the life force, in the life intelligence? One way we can express this in the language that I often use as a Tantra teacher is Shakti. Shakti means divine power, divine energy. And so trusting in life is also trusting in this potency of divine energy as it moves through our bodies, moves as inspiration, moves as desire, as intention, as our aliveness itself. Because we've been trained to be rational, to plan our way through life. And as good an idea as that seems to be, it may be a way that we suppress so much of our potentiality, a way that we suppress the ability to reach beyond the familiar and allow for a multidimensionality of our nature to to come forth, to blossom. Again, I want to give a little moment to see if there are any questions, any reflections. And if you want to just enjoy this sense, this restful sense of connectedness. You don't have to be drawn into the analytical mind to figure out what to say, what to ask, what to express. But something may come up just spontaneously, gracefully in that space. Maybe it's a realization, not a question. Maybe it's something you don't want to say to the group right now, to share live. Maybe it's something you want to write down. Because in this rooted, expansive state, you could call it a gently altered state of consciousness. So what insights arise now may not be that easy to access at other moments. So writing them down will help to anchor that awareness, to bridge that understanding that is available. I talked a little about the reactivity that can be so much our motivation in our action, in our attempts at making a difference in the world. We have the word activism, right? Which is obviously so much about being active. But we need to have a healthy activism. In order to have a healthy activism, we need the balance of the action and the rest, the action and the receptivity to inspiration, to, let's say, a vision of wholeness, a vision of wholeness that may require the quietness, the restfulness. And so this is one of the things I'd like to leave with you today, not a list of solutions for the multiple things that we can see need to change, that can evolve in the world, but a reminder of this balance between action and receptivity. Because the action without the rest, without the receptivity, is going to lead to burnout. It's going to leave us stressed. And the stress leaves us not able to even collaborate with each other. The stress leaves us in conflict, in power struggles. So for us to work together, which we have to, we need to find our sense of safety, of alignment, our rest, so that we can come together empowered, refreshed, and able to adapt to the challenges. So I'm going to give a little, do a little energy work. I see no verbal interaction in the chat. So I'm going to a sort of meditative space. Empower the reconnective potential that we have, the connectedness to each other, the connectedness to our source potential, our source strength, our source wisdom, our heart, the heart of our being. Empowering that connection, enjoying that connection. And we can move from let's say, the gentle sense of enjoyment of connectedness, appreciation. We can empower that. We can fan the flames of that with the feelings of gratitude. Jay earlier was speaking about Wayne Dyer, Papa Wayne, she said, and his statement that when you look at things differently, the things you look at change. I hope I'm paraphrasing that correctly. The point being that when we bring gratitude into our quality of presence, into our way of looking into the world, our experience changes. And this is not just about how we are speaking of the world, how we are thinking of the world. It's how we're feeling in the world and how we are emanating. Our presence is also speaking to others. And so when we come in to the world with stress and tension and contraction and reactivity, we are also bringing stress into the world, even if we're trying hard not to. And so the practice of gratitude, it's not just inner woo-woo. It's also creating a field that will bring peace and a sense of safety to others. And that will help them to reconnect with truth beyond their conditioning, truth beyond their habits, the habitual way of behaving and thinking. So there'll be this wave of freedom that can be spread with the simplest thing, gratitude. And I want to briefly talk about the mechanics of that, the science of that. When we are feeling that there is something wrong, and this is physical as well as mental, we can be telling a story about something being wrong, that the world is a mess, the world is problematic. But it's not just an idea and the words. Our body is contracted. We have the stress from our previous experiences. We have trauma from impacts of the past. And so the mind is mirroring the body. The mind is always going to be agitated while the body is contracted and tense. And so by bringing the softness, the gentleness, the restfulness, the sense of trust in this moment into the body, by allowing it to unwind, the mind can start to mirror effortlessly that feeling, the feeling that nothing is wrong in this moment. And this is not a way to disempower our activism by ignoring what is happening in the world and saying, no, everything is fine. It's not a way to just think positive and pretend that things don't need to transform, to change. It's not a way to disempower us. Instead, it's a way to find a current that moves us, that is an expression of peace, an expression of potential that comes with joy, with curiosity, with playfulness, you could even call it. If we can work together in playfulness to transform the world, to bring about heaven on earth, then it's a sustainable project. Because if we make it an effort that drains us, that leaves us fighting with each other because we can't sustain the effort, it's just not going to work. So I want to again just give a moment for any reflections, questions, insights. Anyone keeping an eye on the chat in YouTube? Mm. I want to invite you to also connect with Thrive Tribe Global, which Jay was also referring to earlier. You know, if you're feeling a calling to be involved in any specific area of transformation in a way that is joyful, playful, empowered also, I think you'll find that that's possible in this family that is growing, that we refer to as the tribes, the Thrive Tribes. And anyone who is involved in any projects that you would like to bring to our attention or to my attention, I'm happy for you to reach out to me. We can share what resources are making a difference in our lives or in the projects that we work on. Some people say the word synergy is overused, but to me it's still one of my favorite words. There's tremendous magic that can happen when we bring together what inspires us, when we bring together our talents, our insights and discoveries. So feel free to reach out to me, to reach out to our luminary leaders in Thrive Tribe Global. I feel like right now I've said everything that seems to want to be said. And so, that may mean finishing a little earlier. Sadiq, uh, who's who's got anything that they'd like to share? I think what's the how long until we're supposed to be completing this session? I think it's another 10 minutes or so, but I just want to check.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Valencia.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Sorry, I'm just managing things on site here.
It's all good. It's
Yeah,
all good.
how are you
I was
feeling?
feeling that that what I had to share
Mm-hmm.
has been shared, and so
Yeah.
I wanted to
You
leave
feel
the
complete?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine if you feel complete. Kyle, who is presenting after you, is joining us shortly. He's already doing his tech check. So, yeah, I will be
Great.
able to. Yeah. So, thank you
So
so much.
if it's not odd and inconvenient to end the session earlier,
No, it's fine.
then
Yeah.
I would leave the space available, and thank you
Yeah.
for helping out with everything, for doing
Yeah.
all this organizing, and thank you all who are listening live, and to those who are listening to the recording,
Yeah.
sending love and gratitude.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Peter. And we will see you guys who are watching us online back in a few minutes. I'm going to pause the stream and restart it after. Thank you.